Linda Litteral in San Diego in a lot of different mediums, and I always focused around sexual abuse. I fight for the voice for women who have been sexually assaulted. I recently wrote a book called Show and Tell, and that has a lot of work in it that I made specifically for the book. And it's about healing from trauma through art is the topic, but it's about my journey from childhood sexual abuse to where I am now, and how art was the vehicle that allowed me to finally have a voice. Without art, I don't know if I would have ever spoken out about it. You know, this is my I want to change the world thing, right? I want to change how rape is looked at in the world. I'm an old, tired woman, and I don't have a lot of energy. But I have an energy for this to, you know, say this is fucking wrong, damn it. Let's change this. It's really important to tell your story. It is really important that you're able to articulate what happened to you and put it out in the world and get it out of your body. I think that's the most important part of it. And I hope that that's what that book will do for others, allow them to find a way to tell their story. So I taught at Donovan, the state prison down here, and now I'm teaching at Las Colinas and East Mesa, which is the men's and the women's sheriff's facilities. I like teaching there a lot better than I did in the community colleges. The women are just hungry for being able to do something new and learn new things and everything. Most of them have never been exposed to any kind of arts, so it's just very gratifying for me. I get to hear their stories. I get to hear all the horrible things that men do to women, unfortunately. I like to honor that, and I like to honor that in my work by, you know, showing people that this happens and it happens all the time and we need to do something about it. It makes me push harder at making change in the world. A good portion of the population, like the women's jail, about 95% of them have been sexually assaulted at some point in their life. And the men's numbers are really high also. On the other side, the perpetrators to start paying attention that this is wrong, that this actually harms people. I don't think they understand what they do to people when they rape someone. I really don't think they care, for one thing. But on the other side, I don't think a lot of people understand how damaging it is for a woman to be raped. There was a student when I was at the University of New Hampshire. She was probably in her second or third year of college, I'm not sure. And we were in a creative writing class together, and she was raped on campus. And she ended up dropping out of school, and I lost contact with her. I have no idea what happened after that. But it was horrible that this brilliant young woman was damaged so badly that she couldn't continue on with what she was doing in her life. And that happens every day, many more times a day than we want to think about, all over the world. And right now we have an administration that thinks that's okay. It's horrifying. I know a lot of people respond to my work in a lot of different ages, especially women. Men, every once in a while, somebody you can see they're touched by it. Usually they look at it and turn around and walk away because it probably touches on something that they don't know how to deal with. And that's okay, but maybe I've sparked something that they will eventually be able to look at it, because you can't unsee something you've seen. When you walk into a museum or a gallery or something and you see art, it's going into your gut. It's not going into your head. It's going into your heart and your gut. So it goes past all your preconceived notions and all your biases and all your racist bullshit and all your, whatever it is that you have in your way of seeing the world in a good way. Art goes around that. I think that's what makes it so powerful. It's how it impacts so many people. So I think art's just really important right now. We should all be out there putting art everywhere, making everybody see stuff, um, because of all the atrocities that are going on. I call these possibility bowls. They're safe places to hold your hopes and dreams. And yeah, the spiral, for whatever reason, is a really powerful image for me. It represents the cycle of my life, I think. I'm on the spiral of healing, and I go up and then I go back down and then I go up a little more and then I fall back, to where everything hurts again. And then I spiral back up here to, oh, I might actually be a, whole human being kind of, and then I spiral back down. So that spiral is a representation of my life, I think. Started this series about 2009, I think. I had done a drawing when I was at the University of New Hampshire of profiles in a circle like this, only it was pen and ink, so it was black and white. And I think I was talking about the different aspects of my traumatized self when I did that drawing. And it's pretty dark. Um, but for whatever reason, ceramics doesn't have a lot of color, and I really wanted some color in my practice. So I started working with oil paints, and this series began as a triptych. There was this one, a black and white one, and then a colored one that's without the spiral, just the faces in a circle. They're a self-portrait. This one not so much because I kind of make up the faces here, but the other ones are my profile. Still talking about a lot of the things that come up for me because a long time ago, I was hospitalized. I was losing time, and I was um, told that I had multiple personality disorder. Well, I think that was a misdiagnosis, and it wasn't right. But there was some separation between myself within myself that I could recognize and see, because I was this person here and this person here and this person here. And, every situation I went into, I acted like a different person, because I molded myself for the situation I was going into, which is basically a trauma response. And these faces really amplify that idea of we have many people inside of us. We are many different facets of the same thing, because these are all the same faces over and over and over and over, right? And it's just a way to communicate that sometimes we're not really integrated as well as we might wish. And all the different colors. I mean, I think we're all made up of all these colors and all these different pieces, parts, and we try and hide most of them from everybody, and I don't think that's healthy. This is a series that I worked on about war. Chess is a game of war. And so I proposed that instead of going to war, why don't we sit down and have a tea party and talk about it? Instead of that, during that time, I also did a piece with Trump on one side. So Trump is a big dick with a gold hair as the king, and Melania, and then, stacks of money and the churches and whatever, and then the Ku Klux Klan as the pawns. And then on the other side is the women's movement, are the pawns. And then, like Lady Liberty and Lady Justice and all the different organizations that Trump's trying to destroy are on the other side. So those two are fighting with each other. So I like the idea of, let's talk about things before we start killing each other, please. The game board. This is a friend of mine was murdered by her husband. And this was my reaction to that event. She had carried that luggage around with her for most of her life. He'd been an abuser for a long time. I had tried very hard to get her to leave. I was never quite successful at that, but this is talking about how the luggage that she hung on to for all those years ended up killing her. I came home for Christmas. I grew up in Michigan, so I flew home for Christmas, and it was when I was in school, so it would have been late 1999, 2000, somewhere around there. And when I got there, my sister-in-law, who we went to school together also, um, she told me about Mary. And so right before Christmas, he had murdered her. And so, it was a really sad Christmas and a lot of weird stuff going on. And so when I got back to school, this is the first thing I did. It just kind of popped in my head, and that's how I worked through my grief in the studio. All right, this series started out, these are called Armor. They are a profile of my body at that time. And when I was a little kid, the woods was my safe place. So leaves and trees and everything were kind of where I hung out all the time. That's where I was safe. Um, and so this is a representation of that ephemeral quality of, okay, so if I wore this porcelain bust, it wouldn't really protect me. It's the idea of that protection. It's a psychological protection that we build as abused children to protect ourselves from what's going on around us. I don't know. It started out partly as a really technical problem for ceramics. It was a really difficult build. And my professors this was when I was in graduate school, and my professor said, it's not going to work. You can't do that. And I said, watch me. So that it kind of turned into that kind of, well, you can tell me I can't do something all you want, but I'm still going to try. What I did is I built an interior structure, and I had to build it in pieces so that I could pull it out. Ceramic shrinks. So I was building this around a structure that I had to be very cognizant of how fast the porcelain was drying and get the pieces out of there before the piece broke apart. Yeah, this one is a compilation of almost all the pictures that exist of me as a child. It was a piece I did for my book, and it's called Memories. And so these are the moments that the world saw. But in between those moments, other stuff that, nobody wants to talk about was happening, right? My grandfather was the abuser. It My first memory of it is when I'm 3, so I don't really know when it started. I don't know how young I was when it started, and it ended when I was 11. It was kind of talking about finding my identity, you know, being abused for so many years. I really didn't have my own identity for a long time. I was just that thing. Um, so this one was talking about me finding my identity by finding these moments that were not attached to the abuse, or, remembering, discovering who I really am. And so that was to show that there was a playful side, and there was a girl side, and there was a something different than all the negative stuff. That wasn't all my life was. But okay, this one is the one I'm in the midst of right now. It's called Remember, and so it's a community project. I have people knitting for me to make these knitted banners. And so every stitch represents a woman that's been sexually assaulted. I've got a show at the LA Art Association in September next year with this project. And then Grossmont College is doing this installation. There's going to be over 450 houses. And I'm hoping to have at least 1,000,000 stitches to honor the women that have survived sexual assault, or men, whoever, anybody that's survived sexual assault. So that's an in process project right now.